Today's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That has been our presenting sponsor for as long as I can remember. I don't have a very good memory, but it was definitely for the last couple of years. Find the best tickets for hockey, basketball, baseball, football this fall, music, opera, whatever you want. I have SeatGeek on my phone. It is by far the easiest way to shop for the best tickets, thanks to their revolutionary grading system that codes the tickets. It's awesome. Everything fully guaranteed. Try it out. Download the SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. We are also brought to you by our new Ringer podcast, Larry Wilmore, Black on the Air. It launched on Thursday, May 11th, and it is going to be happening, I think, weekly. But he's going to have some great guests from sports, pop culture, politics, all over the place. Subscribe now on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget about Against All Odds with Cousin Sal, our new gambling podcast. Subscribe to that one too. The second one went up this week. And if you have a gambling problem, it's probably not as bad as Sal's, but you might enjoy the podcast anyway. Anyway, Larry Wilmore and Cousin Sal. Check those podcasts out. We're also brought to you by TheRinger.com. I actually wrote a piece with a whole bunch of Ringer staffers this week about the last second season of Billions. So if you love Billions, I would check out that piece. We covered all the angles. All right, coming up, Aziz Ansari. Here we go. Aziz Ansari, part one.
Part one. How are you?
I haven't seen season 2 yet. But
yeah,
then
you were supposed to get it.
The second part of this, I will have seen it. So we'll do part one. The irony is I had nothing to watch the last couple days. I just had to watch the same Billions episode 4 times.
Oh, my God.
So I'm catching you early, pre-promotional fatigue.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
When you just do a ton of interviews and you tell the same things a bunch of times, a bunch of anecdotes.
I want to become like, what's his name, like Kendrick Lamar and develop a reputation for being press shy.
Oh, press shy's good.
Yeah,
that's a good corner for you.
Kendrick Lamar's press shy. I want people to say that about me. Aziz Ansari's press shy. No, I just do everything people ask.
Louis done a good job of he doles it out. He tries to keep interview mystery.
Yeah. Why can't we do that, Melissa?
Yeah. What about interview mystery, Melissa?
Melissa's part of
He wants to be more mysterious.
Evil
Come on,
cabal
Melissa.
of people that make me do.
She's
every
deep on her iPhone.
No. She's probably signing me up for some kid's podcast tomorrow. He has 100 listeners. You really should do it. I mean, you don't have to do it, but, you know, Emmy voters might be listening. I'm just saying.
Master of None, you did a lot.
Master or not. Well,
you
look,
had to. It's your friend.
I'm totally joking. I don't mind.
It.
I don't do a ton of stuff. I'm very excited to sit down here. I've heard your podcast before, and
we have a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, a lot of mutual friends, and look,
you created it with a Red Sox fan.
Alan Yang, he's a Red Sox fan. I don't know anything about his.
Yeah, they play baseball in Boston.
Yeah, I don't know about his preferences that much. He's a Red Sox fan. He talks about sports like Mike Schur and those guys, and my brother.
It's like this whole little side lingo thing, and they're talking OBP and all these different crazy baseball stats. Yeah. Red Sox fans are a lot, and we're in much better moods these days because we've won three World Series in 9 years.
Okay, that's
if
good.
you tried to create the show with Alan, if we had never won the World Series, it would have been a much darker show. There probably would have been a murder in like episode 9.
Alan's a pretty upbeat guy.
I'm telling you.
You know, Alan is here's some mild bit of sports information I know. Alan broke both Achilles heels. Tore both Achilles heels.
Both of his Achilles, like playing basketball?
Them. Yeah, he tore the first one because he was playing basketball and like a racquetball randomly just went into the basketball court, nailed his Achilles heel, tore his Achilles heel. And then he had like a walker, and it was a very long ordeal. Alan is the most upbeat, always sees the bright side of things kind of guy. But this was very hard to see this because what happened was he then, a couple years later, the other one tore when he was playing basketball. And he said, like, I could feel it. I felt like it's happening again. I think the only two people... he said his doctor was like, it's you and Kobe Bryant that tore both Achilles.
Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, there's other people, I'm sure, somewhere, but like that's a pretty rare injury.
Double Achilles. Have you heard of that, Tate?
tearing both Achilles heels separately.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he's not really hitting the courts as much, I don't think. But
How'd your life change after you won the Emmy?
after I won the Emmy, well, people refer to me as Emmy Award winner Aziz Ansari. That's probably the biggest change. It was a very fun night, and it was cool to get recognized like that. We made the show, and we thought it was good. I don't think either of us anticipated the level of reception we got. It was it's so nice when you put everything into something, like really put your heart into it, and for it to be received well is a great feeling. And winning an Emmy was cool. It was something I didn't expect to happen.
I hung out with your brother that night.
My brother?
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah. He's taking credit for everything.
He's our number one joke man. I'm telling you. You watch season 2, and if you pick certain jokes, I'm sure he had a hand in them.
Him and Alan are both kind of shell-shocked.
Shell-shocked by the Emmy thing?
Yeah, that night. There was a shell-shocking.
Well, Alan had a speech ready, so he couldn't have been that shell-shocked.
Well, I think he was prepared.
He was. Yeah, I was not, and luckily didn't get a chance to say anything anyway. So.
That's right.
I was literally. What was so bad was I was literally just gonna. So for people that didn't see it, Alan spoke and said a hilarious, great speech, and then I was gonna go on and say just. I was literally going to thank my parents and then dedicate the award to our friend Harris Whittles that passed away.
Yep.
That's all I was going to say. I just want to thank my parents and dedicate this to our friend Harris Whittles who passed away when we were writing this series. They cut the mic.
So were you mad? Was there any point over the next 5 days where you got mad about it?
It seemed a little crazy that they couldn't let me even speak for 2 seconds, but what is there to get mad about? What Alan said was a hilarious, great speech, and we won the award, so there's nothing to be mad about.
Were you mad when Moonlight took the cut the mic confusion thing to a whole other level with the Oscars?
Yeah, that was
bad.
That was a different level of mix-up.
That was pretty bad. For Kimmel, though, he now goes down for posterity as the host of that Oscars. I was trying to explain it to him 3 days later. He didn't totally see it.
He is the best, man. I always see him in the backstage of those things, and and I'm about to run some bit. I'm like, hey man, what do you think? I was just emailing with him today because he loves pizza.
Right.
And I love pizza. And he has a pizza oven, and I have a pizza oven, and we're just emailing about pizza doughs.
The pizza oven.
Yeah. He takes it very seriously. He loves pizza, and he loves making pizza. So we email each other about really nerdy shit, where are you getting your tomatoes from? Really, I was like, where are you getting your tomatoes from?
Hey, one of his best friends is the best pizza guy
Chris
in
Bianco.
Phoenix. Yeah. So I think that got him.
Yeah.
And now he knows how to make the Bianco pizzas.
Yeah, he told me he took 29 lessons with the guy, which is very respectable.
Yeah.
I was in Tokyo. I was living in Japan for a few months earlier this year, and there the pizza is incredible because these guys have this one guy went to Naples and learned how to make Neapolitan style pizza. Then he went back to Tokyo and opened up a Neapolitan style pizza place in Tokyo and kind of applied the Japanese work ethic towards making pizza.
Yeah.
And and then now he has all these disciples that are opening up all sorts of pizzas. So there's this huge pizza renaissance in Tokyo, and it's some of the best pizza in the world. Some of the best pizza I've ever had. And I was emailing him. I was like, you got to get to Japan and eat this pizza.
Oh, he's probably going to go in a week.
Yeah.
He gets super competitive
Welcome
with
to the
other people
podcast,
have had
Rich
pizza.
Assholes. I was in Tokyo eating pizza.
Well, it seems like you do a lot of traveling, though.
I like getting away. Whenever I finished season 1, at the end of season 1, my character goes to Italy to learn how to make pasta. So after season 1 aired in November, in January, I took some 3 weeks of intense Italian lessons, and then I moved to this small town called Modena.
Intense Italian lessons?
Yeah, 2 hours a day.
Well, just people screaming Italian at you under high pressure situations.
Yes, it's intense. They put a big rock on you, and then you have to yell for help in Italian. Just figure it out somehow. Yeah, aiutami! All right, go. We'll take it off you now. Right. No, this woman would come, and we would do 2 hours a day. Because my thinking was basically this: I was I probably waste about an hour, minimum 2 hours, probably on internet every day.
Yeah.
So if I dedicated that time to learning a skill like a language, I would, in over 3 weeks, that time would not have been lost. It's not time I would have been doing anything productive. I probably would have wasted time on the internet or whatever. So I did that, and then I was not great, but I was shaky. But I went to this town called Modena, and I lived there. I went there by myself, made friends there, and I worked in some
You
pasta shops.
soloed?
Yeah, which was very scary for me, but I wanted to kind of do what the character was doing, so I could see what that experience is like, to kind of go somewhere and not know anyone. It was kind of it was weird because I was doing it for the show and for research for the show, but it ended up being a very good thing for me, and it was a really amazing experience for me. So whenever I finished season 2, I was like, I want to do that again and just kind of live somewhere else. And it's kind of nice to just get away from New York. And, if I'm there, I just kind of, I fall into a pattern of just going, you fall into a pattern anywhere, right? You end up eating at the same place, seeing the same people, doing the same stuff. So it's kind of nice to just kind of put yourself in a different environment. And I was writing, and so I like the idea of being somewhere else when I'm writing, away from kind of the distractions of New York and everything, and then just the cultural experience of kind of just living somewhere else and getting to know the culture. I love Japan. I'd been there a few times, but I'd never spent like a long time there. So I tried to learn Japanese a little bit, and then I stayed there for a few months, and it was really good for the writing and everything because...
well, you know why?
Why?
Because when you're a writer, it's good to get knocked out of your element and be uncomfortable.
Yes.
I write the best on airplanes.
I get so much done on airplanes.
On a 6-hour flight when there's just chaos and people walking around, it's uncomfortable and you're just kind of trapped.
Yeah,
those are always great.
Yeah, especially when there's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
If I'm writing, I have to leave my phone in my I have to leave my phone at home, and I have to go to a cafe that I don't know the Wi-Fi password. If I learn the Wi-Fi password, it's done.
What was?
Because then I'll just start checking shit.
Yeah, you have to.
Because what
you
happens
can't resist.
is this is sometimes people like ask me like, do you have any advice? This is my advice. Do this. And the reason I think is what happens when I'm writing, and tell me if you find this, I will hit a point where I like don't know where to go. And in those moments, I will then be like, well, maybe check my email or check New York Times real quick. And then I'll go back to it, right? But when I don't have my phone and I don't have internet, I hit that moment and I'm forced to kind of stay in that moment. And when you stay in it, you can come out. You'll come up with an idea.
Yeah.
But that idea is gone when you take the break to go on the
moment you're on
email or
Amazon.
the moment you're like,
over.
well, let me just see what text I got or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
I used to call it, when I was running Grantland, I would had like 5 jobs. I used to call it going in the bunker. I'd be like, I'm gonna go write. I'm not checking my email for like 5 hours. Like don't email me when I'm out. So when I would get out of it, I was always be scared something terrible had happened while I was like not looking at anything.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Nothing.
There was never one time where I was like, oh, if I had only checked 2 hours before. It's like it's kind of amazing how nothing happens.
Sense of urgency.
Yes.
Whenever I do Master Done, whenever we're filming, I never keep my phone on me. And I remember there was one time when we were doing season 1, there was this whole crazy drama that was happening about the cover of the book, about we're not going to meet some deadline or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And there were just frantic emails just all day, blah, blah, blah. And I opened my phone up at the end of the day and I saw this whole chain of crazy emails, huge exclamation points, all caps. And then at the end, it's like, all right, guys, we figured it out. We got the deadline pushed. And that was all I experienced, right?
Yeah.
Now, imagine I open that up while we're shooting. I'm trying to shoot this show where I'm like acting in everything, right? Couldn't be more required to be present completely to get the job done.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there worrying about this thing, and then at the end it's all figured out.
Then you're
but
knocked out.
It's so nice to have it away because it's just everyone's kind of work atmosphere is creating these false senses of urgency, I think. And it's taking people out of being present and doing a good job.
Kimmel's the only person I've ever seen who can do everything all at once. He can answer all emails.
He's answering my pizza emails. He's writing jokes.
I've gotten emails from him, and it's like 5:15, and then I know he starts taping the show at 5:20 or whatever. So I'm like, how is he emailing me about this stupid Steve Garvey photo I sent him or something? But yeah, he's just able to. I can't do it. Quick break to talk about our old friends at Stamps.com. They're one of my oldest friends. I feel like I've been mentioning them in podcasts ever since I started doing them. Convenient, easy, reliable, flexible. My favorite words to describe Stamps.com. Why wouldn't you hand your packages to your own mailman right outside your own house or apartment? Sign up with Stamps.com and you can automatically calculate and print the correct amount of postage for every letter or package you send. the U.S. Postal Service right at your fingertips. Any letter, any package, any class of mail, you're in control of all of it. Stamps.com will send you a digital scale to automatically calculate postage exactly, and they'll help you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. You will never have to go to the post office again. Right now, use my code BS for this special offer. A 4-week trial, plus postage, plus a digital scale without long-term commitments. Just go to Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in BS, my initials. That's Stamps.com. Enter BS. Sign up today. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. I really hope you use Stamps.com on Mother's Day and did not go to the post office. All right, back to Aziz. So when you did Master the first season, when you're creating all the characters and all that stuff, it's just you and Alan, right? And little Harris?
No, Harris isn't involved.
He's not involved yet.
Yeah,
so
he's
just
not.
two.
He's not a writer. Just my brother. My brother is a writer. But in the first season, we had
I'm saying first season.
Oh, Harris Whittles.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. Harris Whittles was around.
So what's the team? What's the team heading into year one?
Okay, so season 1, me and Alan created the show together, right? We were finishing up Parks and Rec. I go to Alan. I go, hey, I think we should do a show. And Alan and I had kind of lightly always talked about doing a show together.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of weird. I don't know if I've ever told Alan this, but I remember. I think I told him, but whenever we first started Parks and
Is
Rec.
this gonna be emotional?
No, it's not that emotional.
I was gonna get it. All right.
Man, once we get into the Harris stuff, though, you better get them Kleenexes ready. I was supposed to talk to some lady about Harris for like an hour one time, and we got like 10 minutes in. I was like, I can't do this.
Oh, for the Guardian piece.
Yeah, it was really hard. Alan talked to her forever. I was like, man, how did you do that?
I have a Harris connection that you don't even know about, but we'll do the Master and None
Okay,
thing
so
first.
Master and None. So the thing I was going to say is Alan and I started Parks from the get-go.
Yeah.
He was a writer. I was one of the actors. And, you know, we were both the kind of young single guys. You know, everyone else was a little bit older, married and whatever. But Alan and I were both about the same age. And he really loved food. And we just started hanging out and whatever. But I remember thinking, oh, you know, often when people are on these shows, they find a writer that they get along with and they end up creating their own show together. And I was like, oh, I could see myself doing that with this guy. Like, we get along really well and he's very funny. And he's really the best partner you could have because he's so disciplined. He's really hard on stuff. We kind of complement each other in really great ways. And, you know, we decided we were going to do this show together. We'd always talked about, like, let's do some show together because we were on Parks and Rec, which is filmed in L.A. It's 22 episodes. It's so much. And we're like, let's do 10 episodes and do it in L.A. I mean, in New York.
Is the Netflix binge stuff really started yet or no?
No.
Like, that wasn't on your radar?
When we pitched Master of None to Netflix, the only shows on Netflix were House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. They didn't have anything else.
Right.
And then now it's like they have a new show coming out every day. We're on a Netflix show right now. They're filming one.
I was looking, is there a camera?
We're doing press for that show, too.
It is true. You go to Netflix and it's like new releases and it's like 17 new things.
They have 1 billion shows.
It's good for, they still spotlight the major ones.
Well,
so
luckily
it's okay for you.
we got in early. And so
you
we were
got
like,
in early.
You know, one of their more premier titles or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so
you knew you didn't want to do 22 because you knew the grind
it's
was
too many. There's no reason for that many episodes of anything. I don't think there needs to be like 7 seasons of all these things either. There, you know. Anyway, so that's a different story. But so
you would take the 6th season of Girls back if you could.
I didn't.
Okay.
To be honest, I didn't keep watching. I stopped. I don't
no,
watch
it's
anything
over.
anymore.
It just ended.
I know. Yeah.
It just ended.
You know what?
We'll never know what happens to them.
I know them. I know Jenny and Lena. They're so nice, and whenever I run into them, they're very sweet. And you know, you kind of Lena's so nice. Like when I started Master and I called her and asked her some stuff, and like, you know, do you think I should direct and things like that. And she was very nice about advice. Everyone in comedy is very nice and very giving. A lot of times. Sometimes.
Do you ask that question a lot to people? Do you think I should direct?
Well, I asked her like, hey, like, because some people are like, hey, man, it's too much to like direct and be in it, like, or you know, if you do it, like, do the last block.
You get spread out, and then you're not doing anything
it's not an easy thing to do. But she was like, you'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I can't imagine.
Right. I mean, and I did way more this season. And I directed last season. First season I directed 2. This season I directed 4, but one of them was a double episode, so it was really 5. And it was a lot, but it was really fun, and I was way more, you know, confident and as a director, and kind of knew what I was doing a lot more. I
could never tell how hard directing was because I'm a huge 90210 fan, and Jason Priestley started directing episodes. I'm like, is Is this easy? Like, or is he
Well,
like the
it
next
depends.
Orson Welles, or it's got to be one or the other?
You know, Jason watched a lot of Bergman and Antonioni before he went in to do his episodes, same as I did in Master. I really did do that, as pretentious as it sounds. But when I was
you dove into the 70s. You
and
did
the
a
first
lot of
season
that
was,
whole thing, right?
Well, and the first season was watching a lot of like the Woody Allen stuff, and it was like, okay, can we do a modern version of this stuff? But then in between the seasons, when I was living in Italy, I'd work in the pasta shop during the day. In the afternoon, I was kind of going to a kind of film school in my apartment. I was just watching all the stuff I hadn't seen. I was watching a lot of Italian cinema because it seemed kind of appropriate. So I was watching like, a lot of the, some of the Fellini stuff I hadn't seen, or Antonioni, and random things like Scenes from a Marriage. Which you were mentioning the Linklater stuff, and I got that. I watched Scenes from Marriage because they said when they were writing Before Midnight, they referenced Scenes from a Marriage, which is really
I'm older than you.
incredible.
How old are you?
Me, I'm 34.
So I'm basically the exact same age as Ethan Hawke's character in the trilogy.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
And it's weird because when I saw the first one, I was just as idealistic about love and all that stuff as the character was in that movie.
So you kind of hit the
and then
same
you hit
beats.
the second one, and it's like I'm a little jaded now, but I still believe. And then the third one, it's like love sucks. I hate everything.
Kind of still in the second one.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still in the second one.
I hadn't hit the third one yet.
I'm
not
not dark yet. I've been married for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, but I can see the third one.
Mm-hmm. I see the
That's
third one
like
coming.
the key of the third. No, you can see it. It's a shadow that's looming down. But I think that's what's brilliant about
I'm in the fourth
it, though.
one where he's like by himself, just living abroad all the time and avoiding having a life. God, that's a dark analysis of what I'm doing.
Or
Is
you're in
that
the
what I'm
second and
doing?
a half one, or the first and a half.
I'm like right before he got married to the lady, the
Right.
second one that he divorced. I'm about to meet that lady and get divorced. Well,
But I liked what you were saying about no, we were talking about Linklater. and
Linklater,
about,
and I was watching
the
Scenes from a
influence.
Marriage.
Yeah.
I was watching Scenes from a Marriage, but the first season, Before Sunset's one of my favorite films ever, and I love that kind of very kind of talking about relationships. It just felt so real, and I remember reading interviews about like how they would write and things, and one thing they would do that I also read Kubrick did as well, where you would improvise dialogue with the actors and record it.
Yeah.
You would just kind of improvise the scenes and record it, and then use those recordings to kind of write your script. And so I would do that a lot. I did it a lot with Eric. In the second season especially, I did it even. In the first season, I would do it like with Noel a lot. And then the second season, I was like, that really worked. It helps the dialogue feel a little more natural. So I did it a lot with Eric. I did it a ton with Alessandra, who plays the love interest in season 2. We spent a lot of time doing that, and it was very helpful.
So I read one thing from a while back when you talked about that, and I was fascinated by how you did it, because I've always been fascinated by how they did the Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy, all that stuff, and it sounds like the same process. So they put them in positions, in scenes,
I would just
fake
say,
scenes, and they just go, and then
no
they
real
kind of
scenes. Like, okay, so I would just go whenever we auditioned Saunders' character, we did improv. I would just say like, okay, well, like in the first season,
You're
the
making
first
pizza at Jimmy Kimmel's house.
The first season, right? The very first scene is a condom breaks, and we have to decide if we're going to get a pill, right? And so we wrote one version, and then I just went to Noelle. I was like, "Hey, let's just improvise this. Just treat this like this is real. Like let's just play it very real." And she made choices that were interesting and more interesting than what we'd just written. And so I used that to rewrite the script, and we did that with a bunch of.
So
scenes.
she makes the choices. You go back, you rewrite it, and then she goes back and she acts off the lines you gave, or does she still improv at that point?
Well, no, it's kind of like
It's
improv
improv written, and then it's scripted.
We would do it like, okay, so I would, if the scene is like, let's say it's that scene with the condom, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say, all right, Noel, let's just do that scene, and we both just kind of make the choice to play it very real, not go for jokes at all, and just play it very real. If something funny happens, great, but it's really just about playing it very real and treating it like a real situation to get very natural performance. And so we would then improvise it, and we would do that like a few times. And then I would go back and remember, okay, which bits were really funny or which things were really interesting that we landed on. We would, or, sometimes I might say, okay, this time you don't care that it's broken and you just want to keep going again, and I'm very nervous. Or, this time you're nervous, and, we would try and then just kind of see, you just do a bunch and you kind of see what feels right and use that to kind of, all of those, this is at least what I do. I don't know what those other guys do, but that's what I would do. I would just do a bunch
Are
of
you getting
things.
feedback from anybody? Like, is
I know, it's
Alan
just
saying
kinda-
use take 2, use
I
take
usually
8?
I just do that with the actors. I kind of just do
Right.
that by myself, and it's not a rigorous thing. It's like you just kind of feel what feels right, and you remember, oh, that thing when you said that was funny. We should try to put that in, and and then we read it again and just see like, okay, this feels pretty natural, and we hit the right beats, and it's not too long or too short, whatever.
How similar is that to what like Curb Your Enthusiasm does? Because it seems
I
like
don't
they
know
put
what they
them.
do. I don't know what they
It
do.
seems
but
like he puts
I
them in
think it's-
structure. They ad lib, but there's
I
some
think
sort
they
of
ad-lib
structure
when
with
they're-
it.
I think they ad lib while they're on set. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like almost like kind of rehearsals that
Right.
we would do, and I think that's closer to what Linklater and what I've read about.
So what
Kubrick
happens
would
if
do.
you cast somebody who's not good at improving?
Everybody we cast
You're
for
careful.
like the big roles, part of the audition is like an improvised scene. Noelle's audition, she did a thing where we just improvised that condom breaking thing, and like when in Lena's audition we did an improv about some scene that was in one of the episodes. So everyone that we cast in the big parts, they're comfortable with that.
Claire Danes?
Claire Danes, we didn't
You
do
just
that
kind of
with.
trust it because she's Claire Danes?
She's just a legend and just handled everything. She's good.
I
Her
mean-
stuff was, we didn't do that kind of. I don't do that with every scene or anything.
Yeah,
It's only
yeah.
with like certain scenes that are really, for whatever reason, lend themselves to that process. So
Yet
it's not
another
every
reason
scene.
why this couldn't have been 22 episodes. You would have had.
God,
you would have
I
been
could-
like
if
completely
you
burned
told me I
out.
had to do 22 episodes of Master of None, I'd be like, I can't do it. I'm quitting. I can't. It's too
So
much.
when you sold the idea to Netflix, they were just like, "Yeah, we'll do 10. We'll put them up all at the same time." What did they tell
Well,
you?
we pitched it around everywhere.
Yeah.
And everyone was into it. They liked the idea of just, some sort of Aziz show.
right.
And Netflix was the only one that was like, don't worry about doing a pilot or anything. 10 episodes. Let's do it.
Ooh.
And this was before Netflix was
Yeah.
like, really doing a lot of original programming. But I knew them from doing the stand-up specials with them. And it just seemed like where things were headed.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed it would be as crazy as it is right now. But God, it's been
What are we
years
talking
since
like
then.
2014 or early 2015?
It may have been 2014, I guess.
Yeah, you were early.
We're really early. I mean, I
think
remember
you
when we
should
did
brag
the meeting.
about this more.
Whenever we did the meeting, there was just a poster for Orange is the New Black and one for House of the Cards. It's all they had.
I think when you do
And
the
and Lilyhammer, an American gangster in Norway. How do we all know Lilyhammer? Everyone that knows Lilyhammer is losing it. On the listen to the podcast, like this motherfucker's coming in with the Lilyhammer jokes. I like it. And then there's other people like, what? Lilyhammer gets lost in that
I
first
think you
wave.
should brag more about seeing the future of Netflix and streaming
It's
content.
not a
That should be your-
super prescient thing to see, but
No, before
you know,
as you're doing your season 2 promotion, you'd be like, "Look, I looked at the landscape,
this was
and
the
I
decision
just felt
made.
like I remember I said to Alan, the sun was shining on us, and I was like, "This is where it's going, man. We got to get in now.
I had no clue. It'd be
We are
this crazy.
cowboys."
It was fun though. We were in there pretty early. But by the time the show came out, they had other things too, because we took a while before
Right.
it came out, because we ended up getting another season of Parks and Rec, and so we did like the half season of Parks and Rec, and then we started making the show. But during that whole time, Alan and I would have talks and things, and we came up with a few scripts and ideas before we even officially started writing. Like we came up with the Parents episode and the Claire Danes episode, the one that's called The Other Man, and yeah. So we were still talking. Alan and I, even when we're not working on the show, the show's always in the back of our minds, and we kind of talk about things like in between season 1 and season 2, we kind of talked about we just kind of talk on the phone like maybe an hour or so, and just kind of like what would be something exciting to do in Master of None, because it was the first time we kind of knew we had the show to
Right.
and what it was and everything. So
Do you have an end game? Like some people
End game
going
of
into
the
this are like,
series?
"This is 6 seasons and I'm out, and I know how it ends."
I mean, I might be 2 and out. I don't know.
Yeah. I always like when people say they know how it ends. There's no way they actually know how
I don't
it
know
ends.
how it ends. I was texting with Alan the other day because we were watching the girls thing, and what I was gonna say about girls is, so I don't watch any shows. I don't. And the only thing I watch Game of Thrones, but I don't watch any comedy stuff because it feels strange. It's like if you were, if you made coffee tables and then you went home and watched a show about a guy making a coffee table. It's not. It's not. I don't get the same thing out of it.
Wait, I don't understand why.
It's just like it feels like work.
It's like a doctor watching ER.
Yeah, I guess my coffee table analogy was
No,
not
I
clear.
was because my stepmother was always a
thought
pain
that
in the
was
ass.
pretty clear, Bill.
My stepmother was a doctor, and you couldn't watch ER with her because she was just like, "Oh,
No, it's not like that because
So
I'm
it's
not like,
that.
oh, I'm not like watching the show and criticizing
Yeah.
it. It just, it's a different feeling. I
got you.
So, but I was curious what they did at the end, because I know must be a big moment for them, and I know them a little bit, and so I just saw the previously on and then I saw the previously on, and then I fast forwarded to see what the very last shot was. So I just saw.
And
it was like
it.
a very weird way to watch the show. I was like, what the hell's happening? She's dating an Asian guy? Why you got a black baby? What happened in the show? There's too much diversity here. I remember when it was just 4 white girls. Now she's got a black baby. One girl's dating an Asian guy. They went too far.
It is true. The first season, they were just like, too white. It was about 4 white girls in New York City.
So I called Alan. I was like, what's up with that baby? And he was like, well, she starts dating Riz Ahmed, and it's his baby. And I was like, I don't know, man. Neither me or Anise were that brown. We were full Indians. Riz is from where? Do you know him? I never met him.
I don't know him, but he was great on the night of, which you probably didn't see.
I watched an episode of it. I thought
that
it was
one
good.
was really good.
That
was a good one. He had a nice little HBO run.
Dude, that guy's in everything,
and
man.
Girls. He was good.
Let's get Aziz in some of those parts. I didn't get to even audition for some of that. That's what's annoying, man. Sometimes, him, Dev Patel, all respect, but at least let me audition for him. You can't even call me to just read for the thing.
Lion. Just give him one call.
I could have just went in and read. I didn't even get to read for
Cup
it.
of coffee.
I can't play serious. You seen the show? It's a dramedy. It's drama scenes as well. Take out the comedy. Imagine that. That's Aziz and Lion. It's fine. No, but
See,
I don't.
Melissa, this is going well. You were worried. I knew it'd be fine.
Yeah.
He was like,
yeah.
you haven't seen the show yet. We're not gonna be able to do this.
I was just, it's different if you haven't seen the series. Now we're just talking about random stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
I never get. I didn't. What are the big Dev Patel movies? I never got to audition for Lion. I didn't audition for.
Well, the big one was Slumdog.
Slumdog, I didn't audition. What's the other one? The Life of Pi. That's not Dev Patel, but they didn't even call me. There's like 5 Indian guys that are major in Indian actors. You're like, you're not gonna see me? You're not gonna give me a shot? You're not just. Let's not, guys. We don't have 10 minutes to let Aziz read. What are the chances he could possibly pull this off? He's only been on 8 seasons of television.
Right. Well, yeah.
You guys think I'm
Maybe.
doing a bit? I'm just serious.
No, I don't think you're doing a bit.
You listening, Sharon? It's my agent. She's like, I tried, Aziz.
How do you do?
They wanted to get. No.
How do you work on your stand up if you're also working on the show? Does it have to be one or the other?
I don't do any stand up when I'm doing a show. It's impossible. I'd
Yeah.
be doing the show. I'm the first. I'm there from 6, 7 in the morning till 7, 8 at night. So if I did that and then went and did stand up afterwards, I'd go crazy. It's too much. But the last time I did stand up was when I did the SNL monologue.
Yeah.
And for that I really did more stand up than I'd ever done because I had
What does that mean?
I
Like
just
a lot
went so hard.
of you kept going like 5, 6, 7 weeks practicing the material.
Well,
and stuff?
I had a month. So I finished Master of None season 2. Finished shooting.
Yeah.
And I finished season 2, and I stayed because I wanted to. So I directed episodes 9 and 10, and last week, we were only supposed to shoot till before Thanksgiving, but because we did episode 9 as a double episode, and because of some extra time that was involved in pulling off the Italy episodes, it took us all the way till basically before Christmas, mid-December. So
yeah.
And so we finished shooting, and I was like, you know what? I want to edit my cut of the episode 9 and 10 before I leave and send it to those guys as a, kind of a Christmas present. Here you go. I finished my cuts. And so I stayed and edited the episodes, and I finished kind of right before Christmas holiday. And I was like, wow, I'm kind of done for a while. This was great. And it was the hardest I worked on anything I've ever done.
I'm going to go to Japan and eat pizza.
Not quite yet.
Okay.
I still had to come back and edit in January,
Right.
February. But I was done for a while, and I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was like, I'm going to go somewhere for Christmas, just somewhere and do something. And then I'm not even exaggerating. The night of that, when I finished the cut, I went to some Christmas party, and I ran into one of the people in the talent department at SNL. And she's like, I've been trying to get you all day. We want to have you host. And I was like, oh my God.
You never hosted, right?
I'd never hosted, and as a comedian, as a
That's
New Yorker,
a pretty big invitation.
Always been,
Yeah.
And as someone that's been in New York, you always go to the show and you go, when friends host and things like that. So it was something I'd always really wanted to do, and I, of course, I was like, oh yes, I forget everything else I planned. I'm gonna do this.
You're doing this,
but I was like, okay, it's a month from now. It's the day after the inauguration. I haven't done any stand up. I read something about Chappelle talking to Louis like before he did the SNL, and I had a run-in with him as well at the Comedy Cellar. That was a really crazy month of stand-up comedy because Chappelle was dropping in, Louis was dropping in, Rock was dropping in. Everyone was like working on stuff. So you would go to the Cellar. I mean, there was one thing, they wrote a whole New York Times article about it where it was Seinfeld, Rock, me, Schumer, and Chappelle. And it was really crazy. But there's so many nights where it was like someone would go to the Comedy Cellar and it'd be like me, Louis, Rock. Like, that happened all the time. And
but
I was
they'd
like,
have no idea. They'd just go to see.
But that night, what they wrote the New York Times, that was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Even as a comedian, I was like, this is crazy. It was really crazy.
Does it foster like a little one-upsmanship, or just people just so happy to be there that they're not even thinking
I think
you don't want to look bad.
Look, if Rock is there and he's like, hey man, what are you working on for SNL? Like, I want him to see it and be like, this is good.
Right.
But so I had a month to like get this set ready, and I knew it was gonna be. So I saw Louis, and I was like, all right, man, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I pull this off? And he said, all right, this will be the stand-up set. No one will watch any stand-up set you do more than this. This will be your most watched stand-up set you've ever done. And he said, you don't try to write a set for this. Just do your best stuff, and you'll be fine. And I said, Louis, I have no stuff. I've been shooting my show. Yeah. All my stuff is in my last special. And he's like, oh, well, you need to be here all the time. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's my plan.
Yeah.
And so I had never went so hard.
So you went whirlwind.
I did. I would do so the Comedy Cellar has 3 rooms. They have the main kind of room that you've seen like in Louis or whatever. And then they have these 2 little satellite rooms. One is like a little bigger version of the Comedy Cellar. Another one is kind of this kind of lounge kind of thing. It's a little weird. And the Comedy Cellar had all these shows for holidays. So they would do 3 shows a night in all those rooms. And I would just do as many as I could. I would do 8, 10 a night, just like running back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. I came to LA and I did the same thing at the Comedy Store. I was here for a few days and I would go boom, 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 just go one after another. At the Comedy Store, like someone would just grab me and like, all right, quick, 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 quick. And I would just do all the rooms. And the key, any stand-up that's, that you're trying to get really good, the key to it is just repetition. Just like finding little new moments, running it over and over, trying different things. And it's very inspiring to see guys like Rock or Louis or whoever who have that same level of dedication. I mean, Rock, he's on tour right now.
Yeah.
You would not believe how hard he worked on that tour. You would not believe it. I mean, he could have done that tour whenever, but he worked so hard to get it to the level it is now, and would just keep doing sets.
It seemed like his was personal
sets.
Too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had the chance to see the show yet, but I'm sure it's excellent. He worked so hard on it. But anyway, so I was like, all right, I'm going to make this set really good. And I knew it was going to be a big stand-up set because it's the day after the inauguration.
Right.
And it's tricky because you
don't know. It's a pretty big spotlight.
It's a huge spot, and you don't know what's going to happen because it's so weird. I mean, the day before was the inauguration, right? I mean, everyone was just so down. I mean, on that set.
Yeah.
I'd never been there. It was like something truly awful had happened. Everyone was so sad.
It wasn't even like something truly awful had happened.
It's something something truly awful had happened. Honestly, it was it was so bad, and everyone was down, and I was like, oh my God, like what's going to happen here? And then the next day, that Women's March just boosted everyone's spirits. And I changed a few things because of that. I had to change it the day of. Because everyone's mood was totally different that day. But that said, I worked on it, and again, there was a time where after I'd been working on it like 2 weeks, if you're like, Aziz, you have to do SNL tomorrow, I could have done something that would probably been fine. But I kept working to just keep, I probably wrote about maybe 30 minutes of material and then pulled it down to that 8. That was like the best stuff.
Right.
But, I was constantly like talking to Rock and would send him files of things. He was super nice and very helpful. And, he sent me a text that I will never forget. I did a set early on, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep pushing and try to just beat this stuff. And he was like, look, it's the day after the inauguration. You're doing the monologue. Be big. Seize the moment. And that really inspired me to like work really hard. Just that idea of like be big, seize the moment, you know?
It's always amazing how you always hear like Rock and Seinfeld and Louis C.K., all these guys. There's like a community of stand-ups that, and I even see it with like Jeff Ross, or you see it sometimes when a comedian dies and everybody rallies. It's a community that Ross and I have talked about it. I don't even know what you would compare it to. It's like you're all bonded by something about that gig and doing things and some of the scars you have and how hard it is.
It's a very specific subculture.
You only have each other to talk about it.
Look, like who else? You know, if I do an arena tour, who am I going to talk to? Like, you know, there's only so many people. Like before I did, I think at some point I was doing an arena thing. Like I texted Kevin. I was like, hey man, like, do you have a sec talk? He's like, sure. You know, like.
But it's not cutthroat. It seems like you guys are all everyone's rooting for each other. It's not
all
like,
those
that guy
guys,
got this and that girl got that.
I don't know any of the people that are mean, man. I mean, you know, like if you know, everyone calls everyone and asks them about things. You know, Rock was trying to get his like stage set up. He was like, you know, what did you do for yours? Like, you know, people I can talk to. It's like no one is like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can give you my guy. You know, like. No. So I'd be like, what the fuck do you mean?
Right.
And sorry, Hannibal, I can't tell you any tips on becoming a theater act.
And now Netflix is blowing out the market for stand-up comedy.
Oh, God,
I mean, it's
like
insane.
Evil monopoly now.
Jesus,
that place is evil, man.
They just throw the cash around. It's a good thing for you.
Well, I didn't get anything like those checks. I didn't get the Chappelle check. I got the Aziz check, which is a great check. It's a great check.
Chappelle
I'm doing
check's
great.
really nice.
The Chappelle Rock checks are a little bigger.
One more break to talk about Blue Apron, or as my son calls them, Blue Apron, because he loves eating Blue Apron, but it's really called Blue Apron. Don't listen to him. What if you stopped wasting money on expensive takeout orders? What if you signed up with Blue Apron? For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers easy-to-follow seasonal recipes along with pre-proportioned ingredients right to your door. They have the highest standards. They built a community of home chefs with no rival. No more overspending at restaurants. No more overspending at high-end grocery stores. With Blue Apron, prepare delicious, memorable meals yourself in under 40 minutes. Some of the meals available may include, I wish Joe House was here, beef teriyaki stir fry with sugar snap peas and lime rice, baked spinach and egg flatbread with sauteed asparagus and lemon aioli, 3 cheese and baby broccoli, stromboli with tomato and oregano, I can't speak, oregano dipping sauce, and crispy salmon and roasted potato salad with pickled mustard seeds and creme fraiche sauce. Creme fraiche? Creme fraiche? Creme fraiche. They always throw in one thing I can't pronounce. They know I can't read. Right now you can get your first 3 Blue Apron meals for free with free shipping. Just go to blueapron.com/BS. Do not go to Blue Apron. Go to blueapron.com/BS. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Back to Aziz. Have you found that doing stand-up, and I hate this question, but I always find myself asking it whenever I have somebody who does stand-up. In 2017, how uptight everybody is with everything, and the coyotes that come after you, or not you, but just anyone on social media. Oh, they said this, and everybody comes at you. Does that scare you at all?
I'm off the grid on that stuff.
Okay.
And if you're off the grid and you don't know about it or don't engage with it, it doesn't exist really.
Good way to handle it. Not everyone can do that.
I'm happy to have a conversation with somebody in person, about anything. But a lot of that stuff, it's people taking things out of context and just, not having a thoughtful discussion about something.
Grabbing like a tiny excerpt and blowing it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it with other people's stuff, my stuff, whatever, and I don't know, it's not I kind of got off, I kind of am pretty off the internet stuff because I just started realizing, even like New York Times, sometimes I'm reading this Trump stuff, I'm like, what am I reading? These are like reading wrestling rumors or something. This doesn't even seem real anymore. It's this kind of cycle of, you just said this crazy thing, 2 days later, still hasn't apologized. Some other people are saying it's pretty fucked up.
Right.
Then it's like the third day, it's like, all right, it kind of said he's sorry, but not really.
Yeah.
And that cycle, how many times can you read that cycle before you're like, I don't know if this is really making me a smarter person. I don't know if I'm learning or becoming more aware of something in the world. I think I'm just following this weird soap opera that it's just strange.
You're right. It is like a 4-day cycle. This is why I muted. I still like Twitter because I get news from it, but I muted everybody on my feed who talks politics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's a much nicer life.
You know,
It really is.
A few years ago, I unfollowed everyone on Twitter and Instagram. I took them both off my phone. And I remember at one time I was like, wow, I'm really going to not know what people are up to or whatever. And
It's fine.
And then after
you did
like,
okay.
Oh, wow, you realize like, oh, I don't need to know in this stuff. It doesn't affect me to not know it.
Trump is like, oh, we might get in a war with North Korea. Like, I'd like to know that
Oh, okay.
as it's happening.
That's going down?
Yeah, it's like, is this going down now?
I'm in Japan eating pizza, Bill.
We have a submarine over there? Yeah, this sounds bad. Like, I'd like to know that. But for the most part, like the 4-day cycle of Trump said this.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
You know, that's one
Why
thing
would he say that?
I'm really happy about Master of None, the second season, is that everything was written before he got elected, and there's no mention of him at all in the whole series. And I feel like he's
so
omnipresent
mad.
in everything.
He's got to be pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, really? I'm not in the season 2?
Yeah, it's I feel like he's so omnipresent in every piece of culture now that it's nice we were able to make something.
He's kind of ruined Saturday Night Live for me. So I've been watching Saturday Night Live since 1975, and this is the first year that I don't totally care if I watch it because I'm like, I can't do Trump anymore.
You're having Trump fatigue.
Yeah. It's beyond fatigue. It's like, what's worse than fatigue? PTSD?
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's whatever the overload. It's
Trump
something.
overload.
And I can't discern between Alec Baldwin and Trump anymore.
Yeah.
When Alec Baldwin's doing the imitation, I don't even know. I can't even tell the difference.
Yeah. I don't even want to talk about it right now.
I don't even. Yeah, let's not even talk about it.
I'm like, I'm getting fatigued about you talking about the fatigue.
This is where Tate's going to
It's
throw
like,
in a
I get
commercial.
it, Bill. You talked about how there's so much of it around on every medium for a long time.
What was the hardest?
There's people with Trump fatigue like, no, Bill.
Yeah, no, we have Trump fatigue from this conversation. What was the hardest thing about hosting SNL? The thing you didn't expect.
For me, I am very used to being in control of everything.
Yeah.
And there you really have to trust them. It's their show.
They're dressing you.
And yeah, they're literally pulling your pants off and
Yeah.
putting new pants on you.
Yeah.
It was very fun and silly. But I was like, okay, Aziz, don't go in here and try to control everything. Let them do their thing. And I feel like I did that in a good way and didn't overstep any boundaries. But it was such a delight because, Sarah Schneider, who's one of the head writers, she writes on Master of None. And it was cool to be there when she is there and other people I know from the cast and stuff. And they were all just so nice. And they're always really nice comedians that host. I think they like when comedians host and stuff. And so it was really fun.
Do your imitation of Lauren interacting with you and do Lauren's voice.
I mean, that just seems like a setup to do something mean to that guy.
Why? But everybody who deals with Lauren, they love him and they all imitate his voice somehow.
I have so much respect for that guy, and he's such a legend to me. And just he
is. I did
I've
a
always
pod
been
in his
fascinated by
office.
him. I've been so fascinated. Oh, you do what?
I did a pod in his office.
Oh, you did? Oh, I gotta listen to that episode.
Probably my number one favorite pod I ever did.
Shit.
I mean, he's fucking Lorne Michaels.
Yeah, he's also great.
40
at telling,
years.
He's also great at telling all those stories.
Yeah,
and
I loved him.
Yeah. You know what he said that was really funny? He's very funny.
Yeah.
He said something. So they had this dinner, right? You go and some of the cast and writers come, and I was just very nervous, right? Like my whole thing with doing the show is I don't even want the show to be good as much as I just want them to be Aziz was great, let's have him back. I just wanted to end that week and then be like, you know what, we should have Aziz back sometime. That's
right.
all I wanted, and I wanted the show to be good, but you know what I mean. So I was very nervous at times, and so we're at this dinner, and it's Lorne, cast, and writers, and I can be a pretty quiet guy sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm very shy at times, and So I'm sitting there, and I'm not really saying much at this dinner. I'm just saying little things here and there and whatever, but I'm generally pretty quiet. And then Lauren goes, I can't know if I do even do it.
You don't have to do the voice.
But he goes, you know what I don't like about Aziz? He say, yeah. What did he say? You know what I hate about Aziz is he's always on. And it was so funny. And I just laughed so hard. Because I wasn't saying anything. You'd be like, this is the guy that's going to host? The quiet guy that's just staring at the bread? He's the host? It was so funny. I probably butchered his joke, but it was really funny.
So you think you earned an invite, a return invite at some point?
No, I mean, I hope so. It was one of my favorite things I've ever gotten to do. So I hope I get to do it again.
That's great. Did you grew up in South Carolina, but then when did you move to New York, or when did you start living in New York?
I went to New York in 2000 to go to college.
Oh, okay.
I went to NYU.
When did you start doing stand-up?
Summer of 2001.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, SNL goes on the radar pretty
early.
early.
The first place I ever did stand-up was at the Comedy Cellar. First place I ever did was stand-up was the Comedy Cellar. And I remember I used to go there, just watch. And one of the first times I went, Chris Rock dropped in. I don't even know if I ever told him this story. He dropped in, and he just tanked. Like, he was working on new stuff, he tanked. And I was like, wow, this is really cool.
That's cool that you watched him fail.
This art form.
Yeah.
That you're the best guy. One of the best guys that's ever done this, and you can still have an awful night. That's a very amazing art form.
It's like baseball.
I
can go for 4.
Baseball, Bill,
hey, you can play baseball, you go for 4.
I don't know what that
Can't go
means.
4 for 4 every day.
Anyway, Rock tanked. It was cool. But, no. I'm sure baseball's cool. But he, I remember seeing him that night, and, but what was really cool was they were like, we have a special guest. And then you didn't know who was going to come, and they're like, Chris Rock. And I was like, what? I was this little kid. There was like, I'd been in South Carolina, knew every word to his specials. Never in a million years thought I would ever see him in a tiny club like that.
Yeah.
And could you imagine if you went up to that Aziz and told him, hey, one day you're going to drop in and people are going to go nuts? That would have fucking made my head explode. I mean, I said this before, like, to me, like, when I did The Garden, people were like, is this a Garden, like, a big deal? I was like, yes, it's a big deal. But I think some reporter had followed me when I was, like, working on the material, and I dropped in like that.
Yeah.
And I told her, like, doing The Garden's great, but honestly, like, the coolest thing to me is that I get to be one of these people that drop in at the Comedy Cellar. That's, like, such an honor. They only let a few people do that, and, when you get to that point where you can go to any comedy place, and they just want you to get on stage, that's amazing. Because when you're a young comic, all you want to do is get on stage. That's you would hope you get one spot that was good, like a good spot, like at 9 o'clock on a Thursday, or or God, if you get a weekend where there's a good, energetic crowd. And I remember going to the Comedy Cellar and just being crazy crowds all the time, and they were so good. And now it's like, oh, I owe it to that young Aziz to take advantage of that privilege I have, and use it as much as I can when I'm working on stuff, and get up as much as I can and make my stuff as good as it can be, because I have this huge advantage that to be able to go up like that.
So how far are you away from another stand-up special?
Oh God, forever, man.
Forever.
I don't know. I haven't even started.
You owe it
writing
to young Aziz. You just said.
Oh no, I owe it to the other Aziz that wants to like direct and write more to work on that for a bit.
The battle of the two Azizes.
Yeah, but
all right, you want to hear my Harris story?
Whittles. Yes, please. Yeah, you don't have a story about my cousin Harris.
No.
Yeah, tell me Whittles' story.
I wrote for Jimmy when he did the American Music Awards, like 2 or 3 years in a row. One year Jeff did it.
God, what show does Kimmel not host?
This is why he was good at the Oscars. He hosted like a cajillion shows. He was hosting roasts and all this stuff. But then one year he needed a writer and Jeff couldn't do it. And Sarah was friends with Harris. And Jimmy was dating Sarah. She's like, so Harris comes in and he like barely says anything for like, we're there the whole day we had a writing thing and then the day of, and he's just this quiet guy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
wow.
Like, I can't believe he listened to Sarah in this. Like this guy, and then he started sneaking them in, and then it was like, I get it.
Yeah.
And it was just like these little thingers. So fast forward to we're doing Grantland like 2011, and he starts to humble brag the Twitter account, which I thought was brilliant, and I loved it.
Very funny.
And I can't remember if it came out that he was doing it, or I found out that he was doing it, and I emailed him, and I was like, "You're the fucking humble brag guy," because he hadn't said who it was yet. And so then we started emailing, and when we did Grantland the first month, he was gonna be on Grantland every month doing the humble brag power rankings.
Oh yeah.
It's like the third week. I think
I
second or
remember
third
that. So
week.
you did do that, right? You didn't?
We did.
Okay, yeah.
He did
I
like
remember that. Yeah.
I think he did like 8 or 9 months in a row, and it was like the funniest things we ran every time. It was like just great. And then all of a sudden he went off the grid, and I didn't know he was having personal issues at that point. But it was like, "Hey man, you're gonna write?" No response. "Hey, what's going on?" Nothing.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, Harris ghosted us. And I was like, that's weird. And then he comes back and he wrote like 2 more, I think 2 or 3 more. And then that was it. And then after that, I knew about the problems he had.
Ugh.
Anyway, so he died. So then I think like 2 weeks later, his brother-in-law emailed us and said Harris bequeathed all of his wrestling figures to Grantland. And he gave us all of his wrestling figures.
Whoa.
And then he also said he had baseball cards, and he's like, Harris wanted to build it. Do you want the baseball cards? And I'm like, yeah. So I have Harris's baseball cards, and the wrestling figures, which we had at Grantland, I'm not sure what happened to because I got bounced. But yeah.
That's I God,
Does that sound like Harris? Because it seems most of the people I know who knew him said that sounded like a Harris move.
Sorry, I'm just like, it's so hard to like think about all that stuff. When you mentioned wrestling figures, it just like brought up like a really dark memory. But
how involved was he in season 1?
This is weird when someone gets sad on a podcast because it's just quiet and you're like, all right.
But the good thing is it's a podcast. We can edit it if you want to take a break or anything.
Yeah. How involved was he in season 1?
Yeah.
So whenever we got the show, he was the first person I wanted to be a writer on it. I had written a couple of movies with him that never got made, but it was always so funny to read him. He was my favorite comedy writer. He was my favorite, just as far as just like jokes.
It seems like he was everybody's favorite who worked with him.
He was just, you would be in a room. I mean, my last memory of him was when we were working on Master of None when he passed.
Yeah.
And God, man. Why you gotta go down this path, Bill? You know this is gonna happen.
No, I didn't.
You want to get them tears for the listeners?
No. We're not taping this.
You knew this would happen.
I had to tell you the wrestling figure story. How do I not tell you that? I hadn't told anybody that.
That triggered a dark memory for me, man. No, it's fine. One of my last memories with him was we were sitting in the room and we were just like, it was near the end of the day and we were kind of tired and we were trying to figure out this one joke, and I think Harris was on his phone. I created some, I tried in the Master in the writer's room. I say, hey, don't keep your phones on. Like, don't check your phone. Put your phone in a drawer over there. Harris would just keep his phone. He didn't care. Because he knew he was Harris. He's so good.
Yeah.
So I was like, so tired. I was like, Harris, figure out this joke. And then he just looks up and he just says something that was just like the funniest thing. I was like, you're the best. I just put it in. But he was there.
Wasn't he supposed to be on the show?
He was going to play one of my friends. And, oh, God. He was so excited. He was so excited to act. He really wanted to be an actor. And he was very excited. He was moving to New York. Yeah, we'd almost finished writing by the time he passed, and it was right before we were about to go to New York, and we were going to do some more writing in New York and then start filming. And he, damn it. All right. What if you like edited it and it sounded like I didn't get said? I was like, anyway, so he had took out all the pauses.
We won't edit it.
Sorry, listeners. He was our other, whenever me and Alan weren't around, he was running the room. And he was someone we just trusted so much. He would only come in like 3 days a week because he was doing treatment. He was really fighting this thing.
He was really open about it too.
He was very open about it, and I was just so naive about it. I thought, well, he's getting treatment, everything should be fine. He wants to, stop, and he's really being aggressive about the rehab. So I never thought something like what happened could have happened. I could not have been more shocked when I got that call. It really seemed to come out of nowhere. But he was a huge voice in the show. He, a lot of your, what would have been your favorite jokes in the first season were lines he came up with or moments he came up with. And he was pretty much there for the writing of most of it, except for the last few, I think, was, after he passed, we finished those. But, oh, God, it's a hard thing. He's one of those guys, He's one of those guys, you have friends who are like, I should see that guy more often. He was always one of those friends for me.
Right.
And we'd see each other and have a blast, and I was like, I should hang out with Harris more. And I just never did. You know? And I'd see him every now and then, and, he'd lived not far away from me. And, but we were working together so much. We were working together on the show, and we'd work together on some scripts, so I'd always see him. I'd see him at parks. But, yeah, he was a really incredible talent, and it's not hyperbole, the stuff people say about him. It's all true.
All right. I'm glad we talked about him.
Yes. No.
I'm going to leave in all the pauses.
Yeah, whatever you want.
It's legitimate comedy. It's fine.
Yeah. No, it's all fine. But yeah, I'm sorry.
I had to tell you the wrestling figure story. Mm-hmm. What else can we talk about? We're at the hour mark.
Whatever
we
you
said
want.
This is going to be a half hour.
And
now we've doubled it.
I like doing podcasts. This is a very long. It's an interesting conversation, and it's kind of the antithesis of what I was talking about earlier about the kind of Twitter stuff where it's taking things out of context. Right? It's actually a long, thoughtful discussion.
When you do like the late night shows and stuff, and it's like 7 minutes. That's fun in its own way.
It's fun in a different way, and it's, now I've done those things so much. It's so different now because I remember when I first did those shows, I was so nervous, and first one I did was Kimmel. Kimmel was the first person that had me on a show, and I was so nervous and like had all my stories and like it was this tightly thing. And now I've done those so many times. I know these guys all pretty well at different levels, and
I mean, you brought your dad on a show once. What was that, casual. Colbert?
Yeah, I brought my dad on Colbert. That was very fun.
It was like 2 segments.
Yeah. He had a lot of fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
It's so different now doing those shows, but that's a different thing. It's I enjoy how I wish I could have a long conversation like this with Conan. That'd be really fun.
Did you ever think about hosting a talk show?
I would love to do a thing like this and just talk to interesting people, but I don't have time. I gotta, you only have so much time. So I gotta.
So you thought about hosting a podcast, not a talk show?
I mean, just some sort of thing where I talk to people. I like, I enjoy just talking. I'm very curious about people and different people who do different things than me and.
But you don't have any kids.
Stories. No.
See, you should be enjoying this.
Enjoying what?
Well, because every time you have a kid, you lose like 15% of your potential productivity.
Oof.
And if you have two, you're operating at like 70%.
Sometimes I'm just like living my life, and I'm like, what if I had a kid right now? Oh shit, where would I would just be such a bad dad. I'm never around. God, I'd be bad.
Like,
see
where's
son?
Dad?
I'm going
He's
to Japan
traveling.
for 2 months to eat pizza, and gotta get away from everything. Too many people asking for selfies. See ya, kid. Here's your nanny. Here's your check for the month. Bye.
I'm going to Italy. Can I come? No. I'm going alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've carved out a non-kid life.
I have. Yeah, I gotta figure something out. So I can't keep doing this, but I enjoy doing it now. It does help me write. You know what I've realized? It's kind of like, you come up with ideas in the shower. This is like taking my whole life and putting it in the shower by living in different places. It's putting my whole life in the shower. So I come up with different stuff.
Were you actually friends with Kanye, or was that like a?
No, I used to know him pretty well. I don't see him as. It's just like anybody else.
Anyone sees
him and
now.
Jay-Z, once they got married and have kids, I never see him anymore. But yeah, I used to. how did I first meet him? He saw some bit I did, and then he came to a show I did at Largo, and then
Kanye came to Largo?
he came to Largo. Yeah, he came to Largo in L.A. And
Kanye's the most fascinating celebrity. Tommy's nodding.
he's probably
I don't think there's any way to get a handle on him or describe him or what his
it's tough because
passions are.
To know, he's such an interesting person, and there's this whole view of him as just that some people have of him, and that I don't know. He is that. He's also a nice guy that I've met. That he came when I did Carnegie Hall. He can be a very sweet guy. But he's very the most interesting thing that I experienced when I was there was a time where I was when I did the Kanye Jay-Z video when I was in Otis, right?
Yeah, that's a big IMDb credit.
It's cool. It was fun.
Pretty good.
So that was when I knew him and Jay-Z the most, when I would see them a lot. I just kept seeing them all the time in New York. We would just go, Jay-Z's like into food. I don't know if people even know that, but he's really into food. And so like I would just see him, we would get dinner sometimes, like eating at like cool restaurants, like
right.
And then I started going when they were recording Watch the Throne. So I was there for a lot of the Watch the Throne recording, which is one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to see.
Yeah.
Just as a creative person, to see how those two guys were making this thing creatively.
It's only one of the most iconic albums of this century.
Yes, and
that's
I was sitting there
cool.
like listening to I had like Paris and songs like that stuck in my head like months before they came out because they would just play it all the time, and it was so cool to be a part of it. And so I think that's why they asked me to be in that video. And Spike Jonze directed it, who's I know him and we're friends, and so that's why they asked me to do that. That's how I ended up in that thing, and but yeah, it was so fascinating to see them work with each other. And Kanye was on set of that video, and he's like, I bought a ticket for a Jay-Z tour not long ago,
right?
And now I'm in a video with Jay-Z, and we made an album together. I was like,
I think that's why that album is special, because it's caught them at the perfect points of their career, and it's also good.
He put out that and Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah.
Same year. I remember one time me and my brother went. He was in some studio not far from here. There's like a studio somewhere here, and he played us like all the lights, and that was the coolest thing. Is when sometimes I would see him, and he would just be like, "Yeah, I've been working on this," and he would just play like all the lights, and he'd be like, "Holy shit!
Oh my god!
People are gonna go crazy when they hear this."
That's amazing.
One time when he played "Gorgeous" from Twisted Fantasy, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" They forgot about two things: my black balls. It's like, damn, that's good. Hurry up with
this. This might be Tate's favorite podcast moment ever.
One day I went and just heard all of Yeezus. I was like, holy fucking shit. I heard like a long version of Yeezus before he like whittled it down with Rick Rubin. I heard it like a really long version. I mean, he does this, like Rock and all these guys have stories like this of hearing this stuff. And he plays this, one time, this was so fascinating to me. He's working on Twisted Fantasy. And there's a guy comes in. He's got two vintage Hermes suitcases.
Yeah.
Travel suitcases. And first off, he's like trying to pick which suitcase. And he has like one of his guys, he's like, yo, grab that one and like walk around with a little bit. All right, grab the other one, walk around. It's like seeing which one looks cooler to walk around with. And he picks one. And then the guy's still there. He's like from some delivery service. And he's like, hey, I want to play you something. Tell me which of these you like. And he played them. And I was like, wow, it made me realize like how much to value someone's opinion who, has nothing. Everybody's opinion is very interesting to have.
Yeah.
And, especially, when we do Master of None, we screen the episodes for and theaters when we're editing, because it helps, because you're the craziest person to watch and judge this thing, because you've been living in it, and when you wrote it and created it and filmed it and everything, you're so familiar when you're in too deep in a way that no one that watches the show will ever be. So it's valuable to get these other people's opinions. But I thought it was so fascinating. He asked that guy what he thought about it.
See, I want that Kanye back, and not the Kanye who's like doing fashion stuff. I mean, more power to him, and I'm sure it clears his brain, but I kind of miss the old Kanye. Yeah.
But wow, it's pretty, it's so crazy to think about, how much, think about rap tours before Kanye. No one had a fucking visual show before Kanye.
Well, it was
The
always,
Drake
it
tours
was
and
usually
stuff,
terrible.
all those things, those are really all that stuff. He's the one that designed what, arena rap is, Had a huge impact.
I'm buying Kanye stock. It's a little cheaper now. I'm buying all of it.
I haven't seen him.
I think he
so
comes.
I haven't seen him in a while.
He's brewing on something. Something will happen. He'll be back.
Look, I know there's all those other stories, but during that period,
Well, that Watch the Throne thing that's amazing.
that was the coolest
You'd be like
thing.
telling your grandkids about that.
That was really cool. There was one time.
Plus, you're in Otis.
There was one time we were sitting in. So when they say like live at the Mercer, they were really at the Mercer. They was in a room, and we would just hang out in the room, and they had it was like this. It was like this setup. There was a little white dude on a computer. The guy, when he goes, when he says, what does he say on, what's the song that's like, bam, 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 this is something like what's the song called?
What's that song?
But that's not the name of the song. That's just what I said.
Yeah.
What's Who Gonna Stop Me?
Yeah.
When he goes, extend the beat, Noah. Noah's you. There's you. There's Noah. He's sitting at the, he's the engineer. And it's just like them and, this guy. And we were just sitting there, and they were just like we were watching some like basketball game or something. And I looked at Jay-Z, and he was just kind of like, it was one of the few times I've been known to watch sports.
Right.
So we watched this basketball game, and Jay-Z's just kind of like staring off. And then, he's like taps Kanye, and he's like very quickly whispers this rap. This is one of the raps in the song, and he just come up with it and it was long and so complicated and like full. It was ended up being in another album, but he just whispered this. They were gonna do a song called "Living So Italian," which is weirdly all my Italian stuff, and they couldn't clear the sample or something. But Jay-Z had a verse that he came up for it with there, and it ended up being on another Jay-Z song on the Magna Carta album. But he's like, the one that's like, I'm just looking at some kid in here who's clearly a big Jay-Z Kanye fan and is loving these stories.
Tate's ready.
He said the rap that was like, something, it's the one that like references De Niro and all the stuff. It's in Magna Carta. But he just spit it all so quickly. and I just looked and I was like, man, you're really good at this.
Right.
And we all just laughed so loud. We would just, what people don't realize is like those dudes just love to laugh, and they're very just inspired by creativity, and there's a whole side to these people that you don't get to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people know like Jay-Z's like a pretty, he loves to laugh, and he's a very funny guy. But it was just so crazy, when we were shooting that video, Kanye said that thing to me. I was like, dude, I'm a Indian kid from Bennettsville, South Carolina, and I'm in the biggest rap video. Why am I here? One of the most bizarre asterisks in my career, but that was just a cool time to just kind of be around these guys who were being so creative, and I was the biggest fan of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Twisted Fantasy, Watch the Throne. That was the time to be friends with Kanye. That was a great time to be going to the studio and just hearing insanely good stuff.
Was Kim around then? I don't even remember.
No, it was before all that.
It was before.
No, I mean, I'm not saying like.
Yeah, no, I got you. I tried to get you in trouble.
She banned me.
She was right after Watch the Throne.
That's Chris Humphries.
Oh yeah, she was in the Chris Humphrey stage.
No, but I saw him around like during Yeezus. I didn't hear any. Life of Pablo was the first time since graduation that I heard a Kanye album without hearing any of it before. So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because before I would go in, I'd see him, and he'd play like. One time he was like, hey, I'm leaving soon, but if you want to meet me in the lobby of the Mercer, we'll have a tea or something. He didn't say we'll have a tea. He's like, just come to the
Tea.
Yo, man, just roll up to the Mercer. We'll have a tea real quick. He didn't say that. He was like, just come meet me in the lobby of the Mercer.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just came up with a song called New Slaves, and he played the beat on his laptop. Bum bum bum. Bum, bum. And then he just rapped the whole song for me, right in the middle of the Mercer. And he's just sitting there, I'm about to wild the fuck out. I'm going Bobby. And there's like someone eating eggs. They say we're the new slaves. We're just like, okay. Anyway, we'll have the Eggs Benedict.
There should be a podcast of, I always feel like comedians, rappers, athletes, they all like intersect because they're all fans of one another, and then like just these interactions lead to all these funny stories. That should just be a podcast.
People are very nice to comedians.
What other celebrities have just said, hey, will you just come hang out with us because I'm a fan of yours?
You just meet randomly.
You just run into them.
You just meet. I mean, name someone, and I'll tell you if I've like randomly run into them or whatever. You know, you just
name someone, Tommy.
Do you just meet people? Michael Jordan, I've never run into or anything.
I don't think he leaves his house anymore.
He lives not far. He lives in North Carolina sometime.
LeBron must have happened.
LeBron. I one time at the Comedy Cellar, he came with the full like starting lineup of the Heat.
Oh, really?
So I was at the Comedy Cellar, and I said, hey, like some guys might come to see the show. Do we have room for them? And you know, the manager's like, how many? I was like, maybe like 2 or 3 guys. And then they're like, yeah, we'll just squeeze them in the back. And I was like, yeah, one of them's pretty big. Like, it'll be fine. Then the full starting Heat line, like him, D Wade, everyone comes, and they stand in the back, and there's this huge group of dudes just in the corner, and I just did like a 20-minute set, and it was a great time, you know.
I mean, I would imagine people are just turning around going, wait a second.
James.
It's just some tall guys. Wait a second.
Yeah, but people are just nice comedians, and they like going to shows and stuff.
All right, we're wrapping up. When does season 2 come out?
That guy's like, what? I wanted to hear a Drake story.
We're at like the 120 mark. Oh, let's do a Drake story. All right, quickly Drake, and then we'll wrap up.
All right, well, let's see. A Chappelle story?
Yeah, Chappelle's way better.
Wait, do you have somewhere to go? I'm sitting
let's
here.
do it. Fuck it. I was thinking about you. All right, Drake and then Chappelle.
I'll keep talking. I don't have anything else to do. I'm just here doing press. I didn't make any plans. Oh wait, so what? A Drake story?
Well, let's do Drake first.
Wait, don't want to hear it? I don't know if I have any good crazy story. He's
we'll
very
do
sweet
Chappelle
guy.
then.
Well, Drake's. I don't have a crazy Chappelle story. Well, I'll just tell you the stories if they're boring. You just edit them out. Because we got enough stuff. So Drake. When did I meet him? I met him like early on. You know, my brother was on to Drake before anybody.
Yeah.
And he told me about Drake, and then I met him like early on.
Because he was like a Degrassi High fan?
No, he just like knew about him early on, like with the mixtapes and stuff, like even before like So Far Gone or whatever. But he's like, I'm a fan. I was like, oh, me too, like whatever. And we kind of became friends that way. And then, God, this is so ridiculous. Okay, well, two stories. Let's see. One story was he was in Chicago, and he was like, hey, man, I'm in Chicago. I saw you're doing a show. Can't come. Sold out show at the Vic Theater or something in Chicago. I'm like, yeah, sure. How many tickets you need? 14.
Oh, my God.
It's like, that's a lot, man.
Drake
right.
plus
So
13.
I said, like, hey, man, can you figure this out? I told my tour manager, like, can you figure this out? It's Drake. And then my tour manager talks to his tour manager. He's like, yep, all right, so we figured it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, and let him know if he wants to come backstage. And then they're like, how many backstage passes do you need? And his tour manager's like, 14. The barber can't go home. He's got to come backstage. I don't know if Drake travels with his barber. Kanye travels with his barber.
He definitely travels with his barber.
Ivan.
Who does?
His name's Ivan. The guy's name is Ivan.
The barber?
His name's Ivan. If you Google and like look at like Kanye's crew or whatever, Ivan comes up. One time I went, I was like, hey, I gotta play the tracks. And I opened the door and he's like in there getting his hair cut. I'm like, what are you doing? So I get my hair cut. And I was like, this guy that's around all the time, he's your friend / barber? Because I didn't know he was his barber. So imagine you're hanging out with me all the time, and there's one guy that's always around. And then one day you come, and that guy's cutting my hair.
You thought it was his roommate or something.
I just thought it was his friend.
Yeah.
I mean, he is his friend, but he's also barber.
That's funny.
It's so crazy. Yeah. All right. What another? What was it? Well, you want another Drake thing? The Chappelle stories are nothing crazy. I'm trying to think of anything silly that happened with us. The first time I met him, I remember I was really young. I just won. There used to be a comedy festival in Aspen, and I just won like young comedian, best guy,
best young guy.
Yeah, and then like Chappelle was there, and he just dropped in on some show and was just doing a set, and it's like everyone was just enraptured. You know, it was just one of those like randomly Chappelle sets that are just so captivating. And I saw him at some party. I was like, man, like I just got some award saying I'm like this good comedian. And then I see you do that set, and I want to throw this in the trash. He was like, oh, you'll be all right, man. And I was like, what? You know, and I was talking to him about comedy a little bit. And his advice to me, which was very good advice, was he was like, be comfortable with silence. That's very amazing advice to give to kids.
He's probably the best at that.
Yeah, it's incredible advice.
Yeah,
you watch like him or Tell or someone, they're very, they don't care at all. It's very, very good advice.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
You just got silent as you said that.
Yeah, you use the silence.
Very comfortable.
You use the silence to emphasize the point of silence.
Yeah, he's so good, man. I mean, whenever that night when all of us went up, you know, he went on at the very end. Because first of all,
so he gets
there's no
hammer?
like Chappelle doing like 15. Like,
right.
He's gonna go long. So you know, when we were like coming up with the order or whatever, we were like, yeah, like Dave will go last, and he went on at the end, and like it was great. He just you know, and like me and Rock were sitting at the side, and like Rock is always in awe of him.
Yeah.
And Rock is like, you know, I can write a good joke, but that is something else. And I think it's true. He's very, very good. But he's always doing. He's very dedicated to the art form. This dude's doing stand up all the time. He's always touring. He's always been touring for years now. He's always doing hours. Always like on the road. He's so dedicated to the craft. You know.
Do you think you're the last generation of stand-up comics who do it the way that it's been done these last 40, 50 years?
No, I don't think anyone's doing anything different now. I mean, look, here's the difference.
Well,
it's like
I wonder if the internet's going to the internet generation that's growing up that got able to get jokes off on Twitter, all that stuff, does that change it?
I don't know what you can do, because the financial model of it is still, if you put out your jokes before they're in a special, if someone comes to you live, they're going to be like, well, I've heard this stuff. So you kind of still have to have that model of like, I'm going to tour all this material and then put it out on a special or whatever, and then, you know, maybe write new stuff. Someone might be like, well, I'm still going to do old stuff. I don't know. But, I mean, I don't notice. I also don't know any of the younger people now. Like, I'm weirdly like one of the older people. Like, you know, even like, you know, when I was coming up, like Hannibal was the young guy. You know, Hannibal, I remember when I did a show in Chicago, it was like a 300-seat theater, and someone was like, you know, this guy Hannibal that lives in Chicago is very funny. And I was like, let's have him open. And he opened, and he was great. But it was such a different Hannibal. He was, you know, he was like, he was very quiet, and like he hadn't really found his delivery and stuff. And then like, I remember just watching Hannibal grow and just seeing like, you know, how he just developed this huge stage presence and just like, you know, was just so much more emotional on stage. It was so different than what the young guy I saw in Chicago, you know?
So what do you think it is? Mid-30s when you totally figured it out, earlier? Or it depends on the comic?
I didn't figure out anything. I mean, even if I did I was just thinking the other day, like, even if I did the Master of None episodes that we just are about to put out, I would do them a little differently because I've gotten better in some way. I mean, because I made that stuff, but you're never done. I mean, you know, you know, the stand-up set I did on SNL I was pretty happy with, but yeah, I still don't know if I've done a special like that. I don't know if I've done the Aziz special that I want to be like the special that represents.
I have good news. Netflix just offered $40 million for it.
No, they didn't.
28 million.
They went straight to Dev Patel. They didn't ask me. They're seeing if Riz Ahmed can do stand-up. They're like, he's such a good actor. Why couldn't he?
He fathered Lena Dunham's baby.
He fathered Lena Dunham's black baby.
The baby was...
Me and Anise, neither of us that dark.
That was a dark baby.
But also, it's like, all right, so what are they supposed to do, right? Like, let's say you're the internet person who's like, that's so fucked up. It's like, all right, so they got to go on a baby scouting. Have you ever tried to cast a baby?
Right hue?
There are not a lot of babies that are in the game. So you're going to try to cast. So it's like, all right, we need to. We
It's
need to find a
little
baby that's
Bezier.
half Pakistani, half.
Lena
is
Dunham.
Lena's what, Jewish, white.
I don't think she's Jewish.
She's
I don't
white.
know what she is. Yeah.
So you need to find half Pakistani, half white baby that wants to break into showbiz. You can't find it. So this black baby's like, hey, I'm in. I'm right here. The black baby's just sitting there like, hey, man, you go look for that. You look for that half Pakistani, half white baby. You'll come back to me. That's how it always goes. I'm the black baby that's everything. That was my favorite internet. That's one internet controversy I was aware of. Because I Googled it because I was very curious. I was like, wait, so why does she have a
that
black
was an
baby?
internet controversy? I didn't know that either.
I Googled it afterwards because I was
People are
confused.
upset about the baby?
And, well, some people were like, why is it, it does, and then someone was like, it's not even a black baby. Because I almost got involved in the controversy.
Baby
Like,
truther.
fucking Aziz was on the podcast. He said it's a black baby. It's not a black baby. Aziz is racist. The baby, I forgot the ethnicity, but I was very curious about this. So I was very curious. And so apparently the baby, did you look up where the baby's from? The ethnicity of the baby? I can't remember.
I will say lighter than I expected. Based on
No, but
Yeah.
look at the episode. It looks very dark.
Yeah.
But the ethnicity of the baby, I can't remember the ethnicity, but it's not. This is how stupid internet shit is. Let's say it's like Puerto Rican and something else, and something like that.
The baby has 120,000 Twitter followers now.
The baby's huge.
It's blowing up.
The baby
Puerto
is,
Rican and Haitian.
The baby is doing an auteur style show for Netflix.
Just got a deal.
Coming out. The trend is really getting out of hand. That baby has no show running experience, never directed. Twin baby boys. And what's the ethnicity?
It always has to be twins.
What's the ethnicity, Melissa?
Puerto Rican and Haitian.
Puerto Rican, Haitian. Yeah. And then so the mom said like, "Hey, my baby's not black. It's Puerto Rican and Haitian." And then someone's like, "There's black people in Puerto Rico.
Right.
What the fuck is your problem?" And I was like, "God,
Yeah,
this is
that's
so
the internet.
silly. Like, why are you getting? Look, for just a second, all the internet controversies. For just a second, before you like start yelling at someone, just maybe give people a second and think,
Is this worth it?
no, we're just like, well, maybe their heart was in the right place and that's not what they meant to do.
You know it's going to
Maybe
suck?
that lady wasn't trying to offend black people by saying, hey, my kid's not black, it's Puerto Rican and Haitian. Maybe her goal wasn't to offend you, you know? Maybe Lena is casting a baby and she couldn't find a half white, half Pakistani baby. And she got this baby that seemed like the closest skin tone. They probably had a row of babies, and they're like, ah, God damn, none of these babies look beige enough. Shit. Can we lighten the baby in post?
CGI? Yeah.
They could have color corrected the baby to make the skin tone a little bit lighter.
You know what's
what
gonna
the show
suck?
should have been? It should have just been a normal episode. You never met Riz Ahmed's character, nothing. It's just like
Just
one of the
the
Normal
baby
Girls
that's
episodes, and then it cuts to a black baby sucking on her titty. You're like, wait, what?
You know what's going to suck? Is the blog post when it says Aziz rips on Lena Dunham's black baby.
They'll have a fun time reading it. I won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. There's enough context.
There'll be some.
The internet's
I'm
the
sure.
worst.
I'm gonna be out there saying stuff for a couple of weeks before
No,
I go
I
away
think we
again.
got through this pod without anything. I really do.
You never
Usually
know.
I
what's
know.
gonna be.
Usually I'll look at Tate after and be like, should we
If
cut the
you-
part when Aziz talked about
I don't.
blank?
I don't.
We're fine. When does season 2 come out?
It's May 12th.
May 12th.
Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, May 12th.
Is that like a Friday night, midnight type thing?
It's Friday? Oh, it's strange.
I
it's
like when
Friday.
they do that.
Because you just spend the weekend and you just watch the whole thing.
Well, they go
What's crazy
right
is
for
that-
the stoners. They go right for like the
It's-
11 p.m. I
What's-
just got baked. I just bought chips.
What's so dark
Aziz's
is-
show dropped.
I spend, me, Alan, our team, we spend a year making a season of the show. It's about a year
Yeah.
to write it, shoot it, edit it, then even, the promotion, whatever. It's about a year. And then everyone watches it in a weekend.
For
They're like,
Bob's
"Where's-
watching it at 4:30 in
Where's
the morning.
the next one?
Yeah.
When are you making the next one? Dude, we just took a year to make that one, man. Give me a minute. Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank
So
you.
come back after I watch it, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah, if you want, I'm down.
Yeah. You're here.
It'll be a 3-hour episode, but I'm down if you are. And I still, what was the one we didn't? Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
tell.
but we could put this up before. We can put this up before May 12th.
You put this up for, then put up another one after.
We'll put it up like whenever we do the next one.
And maybe you can hear the story. What's your name? Tate. Maybe I'll tell you a story about the time I was in a club with Drake and some girl lost her contact lenses. It's true.
We never talked about David Cho.
David Cho, my good friend.
No, I don't think we should. I think we should intentionally not talk about
All right,
him.
yeah, I mean,
let's not talk about him because he listened to this for 91 minutes waiting for me to bring him up, and I never did. Too
and
bad,
we have
Cho.
a mutual friend. Anyway,
Yeah,
so what was
anyway.
the thing that happened with Kanye?
Yeah, whatever. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
All right, thanks to Stamps.com. They bring the U.S. Postal Service right to your fingertips. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. They'll send you a digital scale, automatically calculate exact postage. Never go to the post office. Again, sign up for Stamps.com. Use promo code BS for a 4-week trial plus postage plus a digital scale with no long-term commitments. Click on the microphone at the top of the Stamps.com homepage. Type in BS. Thanks to theringer.com. Don't forget to check out that Billions piece we did this week. I might have a piece on there today, actually. Go check that out. And thanks to Larry Wilmore's Black on the Air podcast. Launched this week. Subscribe to it now. Don't forget to subscribe to that and Cousin Sal Sure Thing, our new... Oh, no, that's not what it's called. It's called... That's his Facebook thing. It's called Against All Odds with Cousin Sal. Sorry, Cousin Sal. Against All Odds with Cousin Sal, our new gambling podcast. Subscribe to that wherever you get your podcasts. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back later.